Hey everyone, Ash here, and welcome back to part 2 of our discussion about the new 2DS XL event Derek recently attended in New York. Now if you missed part 1, don't worry, there's a link in the video description below. Otherwise, let's jump right back in where we left off last time. Let's move on to really the second of these 3 games, and the one that I feel like I know the least about, which is Miitopia. I feel like I keep hearing about this game, and of course I've seen our own coverage of it, but I kind of get like a Denpa Men vibe from it. But I don't know if that's exactly accurate. So tell me about Miitopia. What do you think about it? What's it all about?
Okay, so are you familiar with Tomodachi Life? Did you play that game at all?
Oh, of course. Okay. I played the crap, probably more than I should have. It's so dumb, but I loved it.
Yeah. Think of it in the same way as that is the best way. Like, okay. Tomodachi Life in an RPG setting is the best way to do it, to describe it, because, you know, the basic idea is that a Dark Lord has smited the land and stolen the faces of all the townsfolk, and it's up to you, the hero, to get everybody's faces back. But this also allows you to basically, like, hey, this person showed up. What's their face look like? That type of thing. So you can cast the Dark Lord as anybody you want. In the case of the demo, they had it be Krista from
That's awesome.
And the heroes were Doug Bowser and Reggie. So those were the 2 heroes. And then they had other ones already loaded up for like Miyamoto, Bill Trennan, Ayanuma, you know, the typical ones that you'd expect for Nintendo that you could recruit and do various things with. But what's really cool about it is that you know, at least for me, I have not made a lot of Miis. However, on Tomodachi Life, I actually did have quite a few Miis because the game sort of demanded it, just so you could have more and more people. And what's really cool is that if you have a save file for Tomodachi Life, you can pull the Miis from that save file and just like,
oh wow,
yeah, you don't have to worry about it. Like, you get friends, family, celebrities, crazy things that you come up with, you just immediately pop it on there. And even if you don't have Tomodachi Life or a lot of Miis on there, there's an aspect called Mii Central. And people, like, whenever you put a new face on a character, there's an option to upload it to Mii Central. And that's basically like anybody can just go through files, a list, I suppose, of various Miis and decide which one they want. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. And that's a new, I guess that's a new thing that Nintendo's launching specifically for Miitopia.
Yeah, well, Mii Central is built into the game. Like it's
built into the game.
Yeah, consider that sort of like the online mode. Like, you pop online.
Okay, got it.
It's all on that server. You figure out one to take in. There you go. So yeah, so it's sort of like it's built. Like, the amusement is like the true pool of the game is going to be, you know, it's me and you on a hero team fighting against the Dark Lord Andre, and all of a sudden, a great sage shows up, and it's Roger's base or something like that. You know, those type of silly situations that you can come into, and it's all about the dynamic that can happen between your characters. In the case of the demo, I only got to see them sort of bond, and as they bonded, they actually got a new team-up attack where it's called Show Off, where they want to show off for each other, so they'll do more damage during a fight if that gets activated. But I did, but I also saw in the previews and stuff for the Japanese version of Tomodachi Life, jealousy can erupt between your party. So
really,
yeah, exactly. So some of your party members might not click, or they might get jealous if you're focusing, or various things like that. Like, all the different situations that you could see happen in Tomodachi Life could kind of happen in Miitopia, just in an RPG setting.
Huh, so that's interesting. It's like it's not even just the surface level stuff in which Miitopia and Tomodachi Life are connected. They really are kind of inextricably linked in the fact that you can import Miis from Tomodachi Life, which is kind of a random connection between these 2 games. I
think it's the same developer.
That's what I was thinking it must be.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
It's sort of their opportunity to sort of branch out. And the funny thing is like the main gameplay, like, if you're playing this game for its RPG value, you're not going to get much out of it. You're really not. You can only control your main character, and your options are attack, a skill, or magic, and then use an item. But you can also earn these like sprinkles, where you can, like, you get 20 HP sprinkles. So each battle, you can sprinkle 20 HP worth of recovery onto your party. Now, if it's a longer fight, you have to sort of manage it a lot better, because I ran into a fight where I had a path I could choose, the easy path or the tough path, so I'm like, tough path. So I chose the tough path, and I ran into 4 goblins, which did give me some trouble since I only had a party of 2, and I had to judiciously use those HP sprinkles to keep them alive, as well as Reggie's job, which was a cook, where he could cook up meals and eat them in order to recover HP.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where the RPG isn't deep, the other characters will automatically act on their own, and it's a great way to, like, if a kid get a kid into an RPG, or somebody's not familiar with RPGs but they like the Tomodachi mechanic, just ease them into it. It's not going to be anything in depth. You're not going to be min-maxing weapons or anything like that in this. It's just going place to place, and as you go across a field, like, there'll be various events that could happen where at one point Doug Bowser tripped and Reggie helped him up, and their bond increased. That kind of thing. Gotcha, or they could run into random battles. I do have to say, though, that the music for these random battles was pretty freaking good. Like, I was surprised. Like, I was listening back to it once I finished recording. It was like, that's better than I would have thought. And the encounter music that happens, like when the battle first starts, kind of like from Final Fantasy. Yeah. I swear to God, the music is so similar to Final Fantasy, like da-da-da-da-da, that kind of thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I'm sure they were going exactly for that kind of old school kind of RPG encounter, feel.
Yeah, I think so too, and it totally works. I mean, again, this is a game where it's going to have a very specific audience. It's more for the Tomodachi people than for RPG people, and it's all about seeing what kind of crazy situations you can get into. How in depth or how entertaining they can continue to be throughout the game's length, that's really hard to say. I only played about 20 minutes worth, enough for me to get a new party member, take a look at all the different jobs, which includes a warrior, a thief, a mage, a cleric, but also weird ones like a pop star and a cook. And I know there's more beyond that. So, you can get all these weird, and when you get a new character, you, like Tomodachi Life, pick their personality, so it's energetic or cautious or stuff like that. And I think that's also where your party can maybe butt heads because of those personalities. I'm not sure, but that's sort of the assumption.
Right. Now, I know you said that this is the kind of RPG where you're not going to be min-maxing your stats, but is there like a basic, you gain experience to level up? Is there like a basic path for powering up your characters?
There is actually. After each battle, you'll gain experience, you'll get levels, you'll get stronger, which increases your stats. But where it really comes in as far as focusing on stats and customizing each character is that most monsters drop food, and each food powers up a certain stat. So obviously, if you have a mage, you're going to want to feed them stuff that increases their magic power or MP or stuff like that. But each Mii has food that they like and dislike, so if you give them food they'll like, it'll increase a lot more. But if they dislike it, it won't increase as much, or it could even decrease. So you gotta...
Interesting, okay.
Yeah, you gotta keep an eye on that. But from what I could tell, because I fed the same food a few times, and it was mystery for some, but then the one I already fed it to was like, average or to it. So you can sort of figure out... It'll tell you, like, if you make a mistake, you're not going to continually make that mistake. They'll let you know. It's like, no, he doesn't like it. Don't feed it to him. Don't do it.
In a weird way, that kind of reminds me of the Final Fantasy Legends series, which, aka the Romancing Saga series, wherein, at least in some of the games, you'd be able to feed your party members monster meat, and it would like transform them into different characters entirely, but it would also sometimes lower their stats depending on what you fed them, I think. So it does randomly kind of remind me of that.
It is kind of like that, because the one thing I was eating, like, I'd kill a goblin and I get goblin ham, which is kind of dark when you think about it.
It's really dark, yeah.
The other thing that you can do is you can get better equipment. Whenever you stop by an inn, you'll after you make it through, like, think of it. This is an awful thing to compare it to, but it's the best thing that I got at the moment. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. You know how, rather than an overworld, you went from stage to stage, kind of like Super Mario World.
Totally.
It's kind of like that, but when you go there, you just walk across the screen, and that's where you have your different events, random battles, whatever might happen. but at the end you come to the inn and you can heal up, and then you can like feed food to your characters, or they'll sometimes ask for money so they can go buy better equipment, like better swords, better clothes, or even items for healing purposes. But in the case that I found, Doug wanted a new sword. So I'm like, okay, here's the money for a sword. And he came back, he's like, I got distracted and bought this banana.
That's so good.
And I'm like, okay, and it doesn't fully punish you for it, because I did get a refund of money that he didn't spend, but it was like, all right. But then other times, like Reggie, like he wanted a new chef's outfit, so he'd be better equipped. So he went out and he actually got it, and then I could customize what color it was going to be, and so there's still a little bit of customization there, and there's a little bit of random fact, but it's not like overly punishing where like, I needed this weapon. It's like, I'll try again.
See, that's the test. This is why Reggie's president and Doug isn't, because he can actually go out on these buying trips and stay focused and not just go buy other things instead.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, like I said, it's very cute, but it's also to some it's going to seem very shallow. And so I think that's the mindset you're going to have to keep yourself in mind. You have in mind when if you decide to pick up this game or not. And we'll see. I'm sure we'll hopefully get a review copy of this so we can actually have a better look and see how it holds up.
Well, it's probably okay that Miitopia is on the lighter side of the RPG genre, because we also have one more RPG to talk about today, and that seems to be a little more hardcore, and that is Ever Oasis. And this is the last of the 3 games you got to play today, and I think that you're at the event. And I think that you and I both went into this game feeling kind of similarly, and that we both were not feeling the hype for this. But I just watched your preview before recording this discussion, and damn it, Derek, you actually made me, I don't know, like you seem to kind of like the combat, and I don't know, there's more to this game than I thought there was. So tell me about Ever Oasis.
That's you sort of hit the nail on the head. Like when we first saw this revealed at E3 2016, it was like, Yeah. Like, the only thing that was really sticking out to me was this was made by directed by the same guy who directed Secret of Mana and created the Mana series and all that, which, is noteworthy. It's really cool.
Right.
But then you look at it, it's like, not really doing much for you.
Yeah.
But then
that's exactly it.
Yeah, I tried it out and played it. Went through a quest. Like, I believe it was the full game because there was no limits on it. Just they just directed like, if you want to have a goal, talk to this guy. He has a quest ready. Please don't save over it so we don't lose this, and go forward. So that's pretty much what I did. I explored around a little bit, try to get an idea of like the town and buying equipment and whatnot. But it seemed like my party had the best stuff that they had available, so I just went out and tested the combat, and I was a little worried at first because when I first went into combat, I was doing like, okay, it's like this is the attack button. This is so A just does a string of 3 attacks. That does your basic damage. X is your heavy attack. Okay, cool. So let me see if I can chain these together and get different combos. And no, it didn't work like that. Like I'd hit there'd be a distinct delay between hitting the A buttons and then going into the X for that heavy attack. So they really don't work together that well, but that actually ended up being, it seems like it was very much on purpose, because you can switch to another character at any time by pushing up on the D-pad, and you have your party of 3, and they each have their own abilities and weapons. Like one was using a lance, the other one was using a boomerang. And I know of at least 2 other characters that can join your party. I didn't get to try out what their weapons actually are, but I know they can join you. So already, like, even though your main character can only do that as far as combat, the other characters have options as well that makes it feel different. And all of a sudden, you're not doing the same thing over and over and over again, which makes it a lot better in that regard, and kept it interesting. At least it has the potential to keep it interesting. And you got a nice dodge roll with the B, and then to keep it really interesting, you got magic with the Y. In the case of the main character, Tethu, he has wind magic, which can flip over enemies. But there's also this section, and I didn't show it in my gameplay because it got boring. It's not the fastest, where I'm trying to send out wind to flip over this bug and like test out like how much damage it does. And it doesn't seem to really do much damage at all, because it's more focused about flipping over enemies, or if an enemy's airborne, getting caught up with that, so they fall to the ground, and then you can beat up on them, that sort of thing. And you know, it kept it fresh, but it also kept it even more fresh by the sheer fact that not every character is effective against every enemy. So I would be beating up one with an enemy with one, and like doing decent damage, or go to another, do like 1 damage per hit, and then go to the third, and all of a sudden I'm doing 10 damage per hit, and I'm like, oh. So you really gotta, you can figure out which characters are best against which enemies, which does provide more more variety when it comes to combat, which is definitely good.
Because you're constantly bouncing around between characters, and each character has different weapons, different or at least a different basic combo, different heavy attack, a different spell. So yeah, and you're never forced. I guess really, you're not really even encouraged to stay playing as one character for too long, because you're constantly required to switch around to take advantage of enemy weaknesses.
That and puzzles, really, because Tethu can use his wind to uncover sand piles and get at treasures and stuff like that, but he can also lift up these aerial bombs and blow them towards stuff that can be exploded, and clever little stuff like that. But then there's the other character, can use his lance to flip over objects, and another one could jump into a plant that sent him rolling into a ball through these holes, and needed to position these objects in such a way that he could go through another hole to access another portion of the cave that you wouldn't be able to access otherwise. And then later on, I found spots that I could dig into, but I didn't have the character that could actually dig. So it really encourages coming back to these places, getting new characters, figuring out who does what, and it really ups the exploration. Now, whether or not it'll get boring going back to those places constantly, that might be a case, but there are quick travel points that you can go to. I think, from what I understand, based on what I've seen of the game, it looks like you can only have one activated at a time, but it'll warn you like, hey, this one here will be deactivated if you start this quest. Sure. So, you can make sure you finish up everything you want to do or think you can do at the old one before you move on to the next one. And in that way, it kept it interesting. And there were some enemies that were a lot harder, like they could defend a lot more, and others that just completely wiped the floor with me. So there's a bit of challenge here as well. It's not simple the entire way through.
Right. No, it doesn't sound like it. And one question I did have for you, though, is the fact that the desert setting, you did touch on this on your preview, but for example, I'm playing I Am Setsuna right now, or at least on and off, and one of the complaints about that game is that the entire game literally takes place in snowy areas, so there isn't a lot of environmental variety as you go through the game. Do you feel like this could be a problem with Ever Oasis taking place ostensibly in a desert completely?
Yes and no, because I can see, because here's the thing, they do seem to be taking steps to try to mitigate this, because when I first went out, the sand was the typical yellow that you always see deserts be, then you get to the cave, and that keeps things a little different as well, but then you go outside, and I went to another portion where all of a sudden the desert's more white, and there's different things around that you can explore, of course, but it's more whitish. But then there's a time of day, there's a day cycle, a night and day cycle, and as the day goes on, you can see the sand shift colors into sort of like a crimson, and then auburn, and then just sort of this bluish black color that's really quite striking. Nice. It does a good job of making the desert seem beautiful in a way. It's because let's be honest, nobody likes desert levels. That was another that was another concern with this game. It was like, oh god, they just took an entire desert level and made it a game. I don't know about this. But no, they did find a way to keep it pretty. But again, because of my limited time, I don't want to say that problem solved. It could still be a major problem, especially if you're backtracking and you're still seeing this stuff time and time again. I don't know how far out you get to go, but there's a lot of different characters. The character design seems pretty interesting, and I like how as you help them, they either come back to make your town better as far as like new shops and stuff that you can buy, or just new characters you can take out and access more things. And I know you were a little worried about this whole town building mechanic, but it doesn't seem too outrageous. It's just like, help this person out, and your town gets better, that kind of thing, rather than
not
rather than a sim like, hey, I'm gonna put this here, and really build it. No, it's like it's sort of premeditated where they go, as far as I can tell.
Okay, so that was actually my next question, was just to have you talk about the sim elements a bit, because I guess the kind of sense I get from this game is that it's a bit like, I guess, a game like Dark Cloud, where it's an action RPG and you're going out and exploring dungeons and stuff, but you also have this home base, which is a town that you're building as you play through the game. So that was really the best comparison I could think of, just on a whim. And it's nice to see, though, it doesn't sound like there's too much focus on actually the granular building part, that it seems like it's mostly automated.
Yeah, it's close to that as far as I can tell. I didn't get a lot of experience or time with that side of the mechanics, but you are building up your oasis and inviting people in, and you're the chief and trying to just make it grow and flourish. But again, it all seemed rather automatic, all things considered. Like, I couldn't tell a difference between, like he said, when I finished the question, he's like, "Hey, you want a sash shop?" Excuse me, and it was like, "Oh, cool," and like, but I didn't immediately go into, okay, pick what it's going to be or anything like that. It's just, hey, you have a sash shop now, as far as I can tell.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about like MGS5 levels of, like, worrying about your mother base and building different departments and engineering different things. Okay, that's good to know. I could
say this now since I've actually gotten that part thanks to my Xenoblade streams. It's kind of like Colony 6, where you're doing quests, you're getting, I assume you're going to get materials in some cases, because there are materials you can collect both from, like, you cut down a cactus, you get like a cactus type of material, or break a rock, you get that kind of stuff. So I assume, like, it's going to be more like Colony 6, where you're just completing quests, getting certain amounts of materials, and then it'll naturally build up in its own way. You don't really get to customize how it's going to be. At least I think. I can't say that for sure, but that's my best guess from what I've played.
Okay, cool. Well, then, moving on for a bit, were you able to get a sense for how the story might be in this game? I think one of my, I guess, fears going into Ever Oasis when it was originally announced was that it seemed like it might have the gameplay down pat to a point, but that the story would be a little minimalist. Could you get a feel for that? Or
I mean, I didn't get anything of the main plot. I don't know the basic setup. Okay. All I know is that Tethu is like a chief, and a kind of apparently a rare chief that can actually control wind magic, and he's trying to, like, apparently before there was all these oases, but now it may be down to one, and it's all, you're gathering up these characters and stuff and getting them to come back and build it up. But I also don't know, like, it seemed kind of basic. Yeah. There's nothing that really said anything overall. It's just like, here's the goal you're working towards. You're not fighting some big bad, at least not yet. It's just you're trying to build up your town for whatever reason, or for just back in the old days. So yeah.
And also, for the sake of our listeners, I should probably point out that that's kind of almost an unfair question, because often when you preview RPGs at events like this, you're basically directed to start from a preloaded save file that they have ready for you. So you don't necessarily get to play from the beginning and see all the story stuff.
Yeah, I have no idea what the overall plot of this thing is, because I think we were already like level 5 when we started.
That makes sense.
So we just jumped right into it. Already had the party. There's already the town mostly set. Starting to get set up. I had, I think, 7 citizens, and I think as your citizenship grows, like, your characters all have like a base amount of HP, but then they also get augmented based on like a tree, I think, that's in your town, in your oasis, that increases your HP. Because I think, like, my one character only had 10 HP, but when he got it augmented, I think it went up to like 30 or something like that, where he's able to hold on at least a little bit better. I'm not quite sure how that mechanic works, but it's also, that might be a good idea to, like, the more you increase your oasis, the stronger your characters will be.
Interesting. Okay. Cool. Well, I think my last question about Ever Oasis then, and this may not matter because you were at, of course, at a loud, crowded demo event, but were you able to hear any of the soundtrack? Because I try as I might, I cannot find out who's doing the music for this game. I've been trying to research it, and it seems to be a mystery so far.
I'm not sure who's doing the soundtrack either, but I was listening to it when I was, because listening back to the recording. I couldn't hear it at the event. I could tell you that. But listening back to it, and you can hear it even in the 10 minutes gameplay segment I posted today. It's pretty good. I think it works very well. It's very upbeat and kept you pumped up. I was actually really impressed with it quite a bit. I think it's going to be. I don't know how outstanding it's going to be, but what I heard, I enjoyed. So I don't think it's going to be awful music. I'll put it that way.
Gotcha. Well, I have to say, I mean, sharing your feeling going into Ever Oasis when it was announced last year, I definitely feel better about it after, seeing your preview and talking to you about it. I guess my last question for you then would be, since you're feeling more positive about the game after having played it, does it now feel like a game where Koichi Ishii has left his mark? Like, when you play it, or when you played it, could you tell this is a game that was made by the guy who designed the Secret of Mana series?
I've only played a very little bit of Secret of Mana, but I can tell you, like, the 3-man party, the way you switch up, the way each person has their different abilities. Oh yeah, absolutely. It definitely feels like it. And I didn't realize, but it's being made by Grezzo, which I really should have realized. And Grezzo's the guys that handled the remakes of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask remakes on 3DS. So these guys do have, these guys know what they're doing. They can do some good work. And I think they've done some original games before, but I don't think I've ever tried them out. So I think I have a feeling this one's going to fly under the radar, which is a bit of a shame because honestly, like, this was the first one I ended up playing. It was just, I happened to sit down at the area where this was going on. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just start here since I'm right next to the recording software. And 35 minutes flew by. I'm like, oh crap, I should probably go play everything else because I was having fun. It was sucking me in and I just wanted to keep playing and seeing what else it could do. And it was like, okay, gotta stop. Let's try everything else.
And of the 3 games that you played at that event, would you say you had the most fun with Ever Oasis? That was the one that just kept pulling you in?
Yes, I would definitely say that. Like, Miitopia and Hey Pikmin have their merits, but my kind of gameplay was a little bit more meaty. I could see where it was going, and I don't know, it just felt like early on, like you get that just good idea of what you're going to be doing, and I had fun. I have a feeling it's going to get overlooked, but the people who are interested in it seem to be really taken by it. So I think this one might be something people can enjoy if they give it a chance.
Cool. Well, we've just about reached the end here then. Is there anything else you want to talk about the 2DS or the new 2DS XL or any of the games you played at the event today?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I think it was a lower key event, but it was still fun checking these out, and it was really good to try out a lot of these because I played a little bit of Miitopia, at least the Japanese version, but I didn't understand anything, so didn't really do me much good. But, seeing that in action, getting a better idea of exactly how Hey Pikmin might handle, and seeing what Ever Oasis was all about, it was good to finally get a clearer idea on all these games. And I said this before, if you're in the market for a new 2DS XL and or in the market for the 3DS line, and you haven't got one yet, or you're looking to upgrade, I think honestly the new 2DS XL might be the way to upgrade too, just based on my little bit of time with it and what they're doing with it. So it's up to you, do the research, but I have 2DS XL is going to be a pretty decent system, I think.
All right then. Well, then I think that about wraps it up for us today. So as always, if you enjoyed this discussion, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on our social media pages. You can find all the links you need in the video description below. Otherwise, keep it on GameXplain for more on the new 2DS XL, upcoming 2DS and 3DS games, and all things gaming. Until next time, guys, bye!